The shift I couldn't ignore. Hey Reddit, I don't even know where to begin. I never thought I'd be one of those guys writing a story like this, but here I am. I guess I need to get it off my chest, and maybe, just maybe, someone out there can help me make sense of what the hell just happened to my life. I've been married to my wife, Emily, for 6 years. We were that couple everyone thought had it all together. She was charismatic, outgoing, the kind of person who lights up a room. Me? I'm more quiet. Steady. I work in IT, keep things simple, and I've always thought our differences balanced each other out. For a while, things were normal. I mean, the usual arguments, sure, but we laughed together, had our Sunday movie nights, made plans for the future. I genuinely believed we were building something real. But a few months ago, something shifted. Subtly at first. She started working late more often. At first, I didn't think much of it. She's a marketing manager, campaigns, clients, long hours. I get it. But then came the coldness. The disinterest. Like I was furniture she barely noticed anymore. Our conversations became short, robotic. The intimacy just died off completely, and anytime I tried to talk about it, she brushed me off. It's just stress from work, she said. You're overthinking it. I wanted to believe her. God, I did. I blamed myself. Maybe I wasn't being attentive enough. Maybe she needed space. Then came the locked phone. We used to be open about everything, no passwords hidden, no secrets. Suddenly, she was guarding her phone like it was national security. Always on silent. Always face down. And if I walked into the room while she was texting, she'd flinch and lock the screen. I asked her about it. It's just work stuff, she said. Confidential client crap. You wouldn't understand. I nodded like an idiot. I wanted to trust her. That's what you do when you love someone, right? But deep down, a gnawing feeling had started to grow. Like a quiet voice whispering, something isn't right. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't ignore it either. That's when I decided to pay closer attention. Not in a creepy, possessive way, but I started to take mental notes. Patterns. Behaviors. Inconsistencies. I felt like a damn detective in my own house, looking for clues I didn't want to find. And what I found? Well, let's just say that was the beginning of the end. The screenshot that shattered everything. So, after weeks of living in this constant state of unease, I did something I never thought I would. I crossed a line. It was a Wednesday night. Emily had gone to bed early, claiming she had a migraine. I stayed up in the living room, nursing a beer and scrolling through Netflix aimlessly. I wasn't even watching anything, my mind was racing. That sick feeling in my gut had grown too loud to ignore. And then her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. It was face up. For once. I don't know what possessed me, but I stood up and walked toward it like I was in a trance. It was a message from someone named K. No emoji. No full name. Just the letter. The preview read. Same time Friday? I can't stop thinking about the other night. My heart stopped. I unlocked her phone. Yes, I knew her password. She never changed it. Maybe she didn't think I'd ever check. What I saw felt like someone drove a knife into my chest and twisted it. Dozens of messages. Weeks worth of flirtatious, intimate conversations. Pictures. Inside jokes. Plans. They were texting like they were teenagers in love. She called him babe. He called her Em. She told him she loved the way he made her feel alive again. Alive again? What the hell had I been for 6 years? A ghost? There was one photo that burned into my memory, her in lingerie I had never seen before. Posing in front of our bedroom mirror. The same room we slept in. The same mirror I looked into every morning. I couldn't breathe. I took screenshots. Not because I needed proof, I already knew, but because I needed to hold on to my sanity. I needed to make sure I wasn't imagining it all. And then, like an idiot, I just sat there. For over an hour. Staring at the phone. Reading the texts again and again like the ending would somehow change. I finally put the phone back where I found it and went to bed. I didn't say a word to her that night. She was asleep. Peaceful. Like nothing was wrong. Like she wasn't actively destroying our marriage behind my back. I laid next to her in the dark, listening to her breathe, and I felt more alone than I ever had in my life. I didn't sleep a single second. The next morning, I knew I had to confront her. But I didn't know what I was walking into. The confrontation that unmasked her. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I sat in the kitchen like a statue, staring at my cold coffee while the sun crawled in through the window. I kept rehearsing what I was going to say, how I was going to say it, and trying to stay calm, trying to be me. The logical, patient guy who didn't yell, didn't lash out. But inside, I was boiling. She came downstairs around 8:30, already dressed like she was headed somewhere important, full makeup, curled hair, perfume I hadn't smelled on her in months. It hit me all over again. She wasn't dressing for me. She hadn't been for a long time. She didn't notice my expression right away. "Morning," she said, casual as ever. "You're not at work?" I looked up at her, and I guess something in my face gave it away. Her smile dropped a little. I asked calmly, "Who's Kay?" Boom. There it was. Her eyes widened. For a second, she froze. I watched it happen, the gears turning, the panic rising. She looked like a child caught stealing candy. What are you talking about?" I didn't say a word. Just took my phone, opened the gallery, and held it up for her to see. The screenshot with the text. The picture. The names. She stared at it. And then she rolled her eyes. "You went through my phone? Are you serious?" That was her response. Not guilt. Not panic. Just defensiveness. Like I was the one who had crossed a line. She actually scoffed at me. "Wow. That's seriously invasive, you know that?" I lost it. "Are you kidding me? That's what you're worried about right now? Not the fact that you've been cheating on me behind my back for months? That you've been bringing him into our lives, into our bed?" "It's not like that," she interrupted, her tone cold. "You don't understand. It's complicated." "Then explain it to me," I snapped. "Make me understand how screwing another man behind my back is complicated." She folded her arms. "You stopped paying attention to me. We barely even talked. You were always in your own world. I needed something real." That's when I realized, she wasn't even sorry. She tried to spin it all back on me, like I had driven her to do this. Like her betrayal was a response to my distance, not a choice she made over and over again, day after day. There was no apology. No tears. Just blame. I looked at her and felt something crack inside me. This wasn't the woman I married. This was someone else entirely. Her lies went deeper than I thought. After the confrontation, something in me shut down. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even say another word. I just walked past her, grabbed my keys, and left the house. I drove aimlessly for 2 hours, no music, no destination. Just the sound of the engine and my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. When I finally parked at a gas station, I sat there and stared at the steering wheel like it was going to tell me what to do. I felt humiliated. Betrayed. But worst of all, I felt like a damn fool. How long had I been living in a lie? How much of our marriage was real? That night, I didn't go back home. I texted her that I needed space and stayed at a cheap motel on the edge of town. She didn't respond. Not even a "where are you?" or "can we talk?" That said everything I needed to know. The next day, I went back to the house while she was at work. I needed to clear my head, grab a few things. When I opened her laptop, yes, I know how it sounds, but at that point I didn't care. I found more than I ever expected. Emails. More messages. A second Instagram account. Even a hidden folder labeled work projects full of pictures of her and this guy, Kyle, at restaurants, hotel rooms, even a cabin in the mountains. Some of the timestamps? Dates when she told me she was on a business trip. She wasn't even careful. She didn't have to be. Because she knew I trusted her blindly. One message hit me like a truck. She had written to Kyle just a week earlier. "He suspects something. Might need to start thinking about an exit plan." An exit plan. So I was just a box she hadn't checked off yet. Just some obstacle in the way of her new little fantasy life. I couldn't believe what I was reading. This wasn't just cheating. It was premeditated betrayal. A whole parallel life she built behind my back. With plans to leave me once the timing was right. She was orchestrating everything, smiling in my face while plotting my erasure. I packed a bag. I didn't know where I was going yet, but I knew I couldn't stay in that house. Not another second. The Emily I knew, my wife, my partner, my best friend, she was gone. Replaced by someone I couldn't even recognize. The ghost of the life I thought I had. I ended up crashing at my friend Dave's place that night. He's one of those guys you don't see for months, But the second you need him, he's there with a six-pack and no questions asked. When I showed up at his door with a duffel bag and a look on my face like the world had just ended, well, I didn't have to say much. He let me in, handed me a beer, and just sat there until I was ready to talk. When I finally told him everything, I could see the disbelief on his face. He knew Emily. Hell, we all hung out. She was part of the group. Smiling, laughing, hosting game nights. And now she was this stranger who was ready to throw everything away. We talked late into the night. He offered advice, but mostly he just listened. I didn't even know what I needed. I was too numb. The next morning, I woke up on his couch to the sound of my phone buzzing. It was Emily. 7 missed calls. 3 new messages. I opened them slowly, not sure what to expect. "Can we please talk? I didn't want you to find out like that. I just need time to figure things out." Figure things out? That hit me harder than the cheating, honestly. She still wasn't taking any responsibility. Still trying to control the narrative. Still treating me like some side character in a life she was rewriting without my consent. She hadn't even said sorry. I didn't respond. Later that day, I went back to the house to grab a few more things. Walking through that front door felt like stepping into a museum of my own stupidity. Everything was exactly as I left it, our wedding photo on the wall, the dented coffee table we bought together, the couch where we spent lazy Sundays. But it all felt fake now. Hollow. Like props in a show I didn't realize had been cancelled months ago. I took my clothes, my hard drive, a few books. Left the rest. I didn't want anything that reminded me of her. Not the throw blanket she picked. Not the stupid mug with our initials. Not even the cologne she bought me last Christmas. That scent made me sick now. Before I left, I stood in our bedroom for a moment. Just looked around. It used to be a place of comfort. Now it felt like a crime scene. I wasn't ready to decide what came next. But I knew this part of my life? It was over. Grieving someone still alive. I always thought grief was something you felt when someone died. Turns out, you can grieve someone who's still walking around. Still eating breakfast. Still going to work. Still posting selfies like they didn't just tear your world apart. That's the stage I was in, grief. Raw, ugly, unpredictable grief. The weirdest part was the silence. I didn't expect that. You go from talking to someone every day, texting, joking, eating dinner together, to absolutely nothing. Just this black hole where they used to be. A void. And yeah, I know I was the one who left, but that didn't make it hurt any less. Emily didn't reach out again for a couple days after that string of messages. I think she was trying to give me space like that was some noble act. Like that would fix everything. Meanwhile, I was crashing on Dave's couch, pretending to be fine during the day and falling apart at 3 a.m. I'd find myself scrolling through old photos. Birthday parties. Vacations. Our honeymoon in Santorini. I looked so happy in those pictures. So sure of everything. And her? She looked like she loved me. Or maybe I just wanted to believe she did. I couldn't stop replaying things in my head. Every moment. Every little red flag I ignored. Like the time she suddenly started hitting the gym 5 times a week. Or how she started taking her phone to the bathroom with her. How she started calling me dude instead of babe. They were signs. I just didn't want to see them. The worst part was the questions that had no answers. Was she ever really in love with me? Did she ever mean the vows she said? Was our whole relationship just convenient? Dave kept telling me not to go down that road, but how could I not? When your whole identity is wrapped up in someone, and they betray you like this, it breaks something fundamental inside you. You don't just lose them. You lose a version of yourself. One night, I opened a Word doc and just started typing. Everything. All of it. The pain. The anger. The confusion. I didn't even know what I was doing, but the words kept coming. Page after page. I guess that's how this whole Reddit post started. I needed to scream somewhere. So this is me screaming into the void. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there will hear me. The mirror and the mask. The thing about betrayal is, it doesn't just break your heart. It breaks your identity. I'd always thought of myself as a loyal guy. A good husband. I worked hard, stayed faithful, brought home flowers just because. I wasn't perfect, but I showed up. Every damn day. And now? I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back at me. I looked tired. Not just physically, but like something inside me had died. I remember sitting in Dave's tiny guest bathroom, staring into that mirror and just asking myself, who are you now? I didn't have an answer. Because the man I thought I was, he was married. He had a future with someone. He had trust, stability, purpose. Now? He was just floating. I stopped eating regularly. Lost almost 10 pounds in 2 weeks. Dave tried to keep me sane, inviting me out, making me watch bad movies, distracting me with random crap, but I wasn't really there. I was stuck in my own head, trapped in this loop of what ifs and how did this happen? Then, randomly, I got a message from Emily. Can we talk in person? Just to get closure. Closure. That word made me laugh out loud. Like this was some rom-com breakup where we'd sip coffee and cry about good times. As if she hadn't ripped open my chest and danced in the wreckage. Still, I agreed. Why? I don't know. Curiosity? Weakness? Hope for some twisted sense of justice? We met at a cafe we used to go to. She was already there, sipping something overpriced, acting like this was just another normal day. She looked good. Like, really good. That messed with my head more than I want to admit. I half expected her to look like the villain I felt she was, but there she was, smiling, calm, untouched by the chaos she'd caused. The conversation was civil. Too civil. She talked about how things got complicated, how she didn't mean to hurt me, how she didn't know how to end it. I asked her, point blank, was any of it real? She looked down for a second and said, parts of it were. Parts. Not even a full yes. I nodded, stood up, and walked out without saying another word. She didn't follow. That was the moment I knew, it was really, truly over. Rebuilding from ashes. After that final meeting with Emily, something in me finally shifted. It wasn't peace. Not yet. But it was clarity. There would be no dramatic reunion. No apology that would undo the damage. No movie moment where we both cry and realize we still love each other. That wasn't the story I was living in anymore. This was real life. And real life meant starting over from zero. The day after our meeting, I went apartment hunting. I couldn't crash on Dave's couch forever, no matter how supportive he'd been. I needed my own space, my own air. A place that didn't have memories of her in the walls. I found a small one-bedroom about 15 minutes from my old place. Nothing fancy, but it had sunlight in the morning, a decent kitchen, and most importantly, it was mine. I moved in with just a mattress, a laptop, and a second-hand coffee table I bought off Facebook Marketplace. It was humble, even a little depressing. But it was a start. I remember the first night I spent there. No furniture. Just me and 4 white walls. I ordered Chinese food, sat on the floor, and watched YouTube videos on my laptop. I wasn't sad. I wasn't angry. I was empty. But in a weird way, that felt better than being full of rage. Over the next few days, I started building a routine. Wake up. Gym. Work. Cook something, anything. Read. Sleep. It felt mechanical at first. Like I was just going through the motions. But with each passing day, I felt a little more human. I also started therapy. Yeah, I know, cliché, right? Guy gets cheated on and starts going to therapy. But honestly? Best decision I made. My therapist didn't just sit there nodding, she pushed me. She made me question my patterns. My blind spots. Even the ways I'd allowed things to slip in the marriage without realizing it. Don't get me wrong, what Emily did was inexcusable. But understanding my own role in the breakdown? That gave me power. It gave me agency. One night, I was journaling and I wrote this sentence. I'm not healing to get her back. I'm healing so I don't lose myself again. That was the moment I started to feel like me again. Not the husband. Not the betrayed man. Just a man. Learning to stand again. Triggers and ghosts. Healing isn't a straight line. You can feel like you're making progress, like you're finally getting your footing, then one random moment just punches you in the gut and reminds you exactly how broken you still are. For me, that moment came at the grocery store of all places. I was walking down the aisle, minding my own business, debating whether to buy almond milk or just admit I'm a whole milk guy forever, and then I heard someone laugh. It was a woman's laugh. High-pitched, familiar. Way too familiar. My heart skipped. I turned my head, and for a split second, I swore it was Emily. Same hair. Same jacket. Same damn perfume, Chanel Chance. I would know that scent in a hurricane. It wasn't her. But I stood there, frozen in front of the dairy section, holding a half-gallon of milk and trying not to lose it. It felt like a wave had come out of nowhere and crashed into me. Like my body remembered the trauma even before my mind could process it. I left without buying anything. Sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing anchoring me to reality. It's crazy how your body keeps the score, even when you think your mind has moved on. That laugh? That perfume? That was all it took to spiral me back into memories I didn't ask to revisit. I talked about it in therapy that week. My therapist called it a trauma trigger, which sounds clinical and neat, but it feels like drowning in invisible water. We talked about building anchors, safe thoughts, breathing techniques, even little rituals to help me reclaim control in those moments. So now, when I feel myself spiraling, I do something weird but effective. I whisper the truth out loud. She is not your wife anymore. You are not in that house anymore. You are safe. Sounds stupid, maybe. But it works. It reminds me that I'm not stuck in the past anymore. That the ghosts don't control me. I also started unfollowing mutual friends. Not because I hate them, but because every time someone posted a picture from our old group, it felt like reopening a wound. I needed distance. I needed silence. I'm learning that healing isn't about forgetting. It's about learning how to live with the memory, without letting it define you. And every day, I'm getting a little better at that. The message I didn't expect. About a month after I moved into my apartment, things started to feel normal again. Not perfect, not painless, but livable. I was cooking my own meals, sleeping through the night, going to the gym more days than not. Hell, I even started reading books again. Real books, not just Reddit threads and texts from a woman who no longer existed in my life. Then, out of nowhere, I got another message from Emily. This time, it wasn't just a vague "can we talk?" It was longer. I know you probably hate me. But I wanted to be honest about something. Kyle and I are no longer seeing each other. Things didn't work out. I know that probably doesn't mean much now, but I just thought you should know. I sat there reading those words, waiting to feel something. Anger. Vindication. Satisfaction. But all I felt was nothing. Not because it didn't matter, but because I'd changed so much since the last time her name made my chest ache. This version of me? He didn't need that closure. He didn't want to hear her explain or justify or confess. He had already made peace with never getting the answers. Still, I stared at that message for a good 5 minutes. It's funny how someone can destroy you, and still want a clean exit. Still want you to understand. Forgive. Maybe even offer comfort. But I had no comfort left to give her. So I didn't reply. That silence? That was my closure. A couple days later, I bumped into her sister at a gas station. We always got along during the marriage. She was blunt and had zero tolerance for BS. She gave me a tight hug and said, "I told her she was an idiot. Just so you know." I laughed. For real. It was the first time I'd spoken about Emily out loud in weeks, and for once, it didn't hurt. I've started setting boundaries now. Not just with her, but with everyone. Friends. Work. Even my own inner critic. I don't take on guilt that doesn't belong to me anymore. Emily made her choices. And I'm finally making mine. Not out of revenge. Not to prove anything. Just because I deserve peace. And slowly, I'm learning how to give that peace to myself. When someone new appears. It started innocently. I was at a bookstore, yes, a real one with shelves and dust and people actually browsing. I'd picked up a paperback I'd heard about on a podcast and was flipping through it when someone next to me said, "That one wrecked me." In a good way. I looked up, and there she was. No, this isn't some fairy tale about locking eyes and falling in love across the self-help section. But something about her energy caught me off guard. It was calm. Grounded. No makeup. Hoodie and jeans. Just real. Her name was Mia. We chatted for a few minutes. Turns out we had similar taste in books and music. She asked if I wanted to grab coffee. And just like that, I said yes. I hadn't gone on a date, if you could even call it that, since Emily. I wasn't even sure I remembered how to talk to someone without scanning every word for red flags. But Mia made it easy. She didn't pry. Didn't flirt aggressively. She just talked. About travel. About therapy. About life after divorce, yeah, She had her own wounds, too. We were two broken people sitting across from each other, not pretending to be whole. After that coffee, we exchanged numbers. A few days later, we met up again. And then again. But here's the thing they don't tell you about dating after betrayal. Even when it's going well, it's terrifying. Every time she smiled at her phone, my stomach tensed. Every time she mentioned a male co-worker, I felt my brain twisted into a threat. Not because she did anything wrong, but because someone else taught me to see danger in the ordinary. I hated that. Hated how much power Emily's lies still had over me, even in this new chapter. At one point, Mia noticed I'd gone quiet. She asked, "You okay?" I almost lied. Almost said I was just tired. But instead, I told her the truth. Sometimes I forget how to trust. Even when I want to. She nodded. No judgment. Just said, "I get that. Same here." It wasn't love. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But it was something I hadn't felt in a long time. Safe. And for now, that was enough. When trust feels like a trap. Dating Claire felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. On the surface, things were going well. We kept it slow, coffee dates, long walks, hours of texting about everything from philosophy to stupid reality shows. She had this calming energy that made me want to open up. But every time things started to feel real, I panicked. It wasn't her fault. She never said or did anything wrong. In fact, Claire was almost too understanding. She never pressured me. Never pushed for more. But maybe that was the problem, I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because after what Emily did, trust felt like a loaded weapon. I remember one night, a few weeks after our first date. Claire and I were sitting on my tiny couch watching a movie. I had my arm around her. She leaned in, rested her head on my chest. And in that moment, my heart was racing, not from excitement, but from fear. I wasn't afraid of her. I was afraid of me. Of what I'd become. I'd been blindsided once. Completely, utterly betrayed. How was I supposed to know it wouldn't happen again? Every time her phone buzzed, I'd flinch inside. Not outwardly, but I'd feel it, a flicker of suspicion I hated myself for. That poison Emily left behind hadn't fully left me yet. And Claire? She noticed. Of course she did. One night she asked me, softly, "Am I pushing too fast for you?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to say you're perfect and it's not you. But all I could do was nod. She smiled and said, "Okay. I just want you to know, I'm not going anywhere." That almost broke me. Because that kind of patience? That kind of quiet strength? I wasn't used to it. Emily had always been dramatic, demanding. Everything was emotional whiplash. Claire was the opposite, steady, kind, honest. And somehow, that scared me more than chaos. With chaos, I knew what to expect. With peace, I didn't know how to exist in it. But that night, for the first time, I let myself hold her without fear. No more flinching. No more ghosts. Just me, and someone who didn't treat my trauma like a burden. Maybe that's what trust is, after all. Not forgetting what happened, but choosing to believe that not everyone will hurt you. The final blow that didn't break me. Just when I thought the storm had passed, the past came knocking one last time. It was a Saturday morning. Clear skies. I had plans with Claire later that day, something simple, just lunch and a bookstore stop. I felt good. Grounded. Like the scars were finally just that, scars, not open wounds. Then I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I don't usually answer unknowns, but something told me to pick up. It was Kyle. Yeah, that Kyle. The guy my wife cheated on me with. The guy she nearly left me for. His voice was calm, almost smug. He started the call like we were old friends catching up. "Hey man, I know this is out of the blue, but I figured we should talk. You know, man to man." I didn't say a word. He kept going. I just wanted to say. I didn't know she was married at first. And when I found out, yeah, I kept going. "That's on me. But she told me you were basically roommates. That you didn't even touch her anymore. Said the marriage was dead." Those words hit me like a punch, but not the way they would have months ago. Back then, I might have believed him. I might have spiraled into questioning everything all over again. But now? I saw it clearly. Emily wasn't just a cheater. She was a liar. A manipulator. She built stories around herself like armor, justifying every selfish choice with twisted versions of the truth. I let Kyle talk. He kept rambling, maybe expecting me to yell or unload on him. But I didn't. I waited until he finished, then calmly said, "Thanks for letting me know. But you're not part of my life anymore. Neither is she." And I hung up. Simple. Final. I stood there in the middle of my apartment, phone still in hand, and realized something. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't spiraling. I wasn't broken. The man I was 6 months ago would have fallen apart. But the man I am now? He's still standing. Still healing. Still choosing peace over chaos. That call, that voice, that final bit of drama, it didn't pull me back in. It pushed me forward. Because closure doesn't come from others. It comes from within. Learning to live again. There's a strange kind of silence that comes after chaos ends. No more late-night fights. No more anxiety waiting for her to come home. No more walking on eggshells or second-guessing every word I say. At first, that silence felt unbearable. Like something was missing. But over time, it started to feel like peace. Real peace. The kind I hadn't known in years. I've spent the last few weeks focusing on myself. Reading again. Running. Cooking meals that don't come from a microwave. Little things, but they mean something now. Claire is still here. Still patient. Still gentle. But now, I'm finally able to meet her halfway. We don't talk about Emily anymore. Not because we're pretending it didn't happen, but because she's no longer the center of my story. She's just a chapter. A painful one, sure. But not the final one. A few days ago, I went through the last of the boxes from my old life. Wedding photos. Anniversary cards. Love notes that feel like they were written by strangers. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just looked at them. And let them go. I dropped everything into a big black trash bag, walked it down to the dumpster behind my building, and watched it disappear. No dramatic soundtrack. No symbolic flames. Just me, finally letting go. After that, I called Claire. Told her to come over. I made dinner, her favorite. Nothing fancy, just pasta and wine. We ate on the couch, legs tangled together, the TV playing something we barely watched. At one point, she looked at me and said, "You feel lighter." And I did. I really did. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe Claire and I go the distance. Maybe we don't. But for the first time in a long time, I'm not afraid of tomorrow. Because I survived. Not just Emily's betrayal, but the version of myself that stayed too long in a toxic relationship out of fear. I've learned that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering without hurting. Loving without fearing. Trusting without doubting yourself every second. And above all, choosing yourself, not in a selfish way, but in a way that says, I matter too. I'm not broken anymore. Just rebuilding. What I learned after she broke me. It's been almost a year since everything fell apart. 1 year since I walked in on the lies, the betrayal, and the slow realization that the person I thought would stand beside me forever, never really stood beside me at all. And yet, I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I'm still me, just a little wiser, a little tougher, and a hell of a lot more honest with myself. If there's anything this whole mess has taught me, it's this. People don't change because you love them. That was the hardest pill to swallow. I thought if I just gave enough, forgave enough, stayed long enough, Emily would come back to the woman I married. But people only change when they want to. And often, they don't. Trust your gut. I felt something was wrong months before the truth hit me in the face. I saw the signs, coldness, distance, the lies that didn't quite line up. But I gaslit myself. I told myself I was being dramatic, paranoid, insecure. I won't do that again. Healing takes time. It's not linear. Some days you're okay. Some days you're not. And that's fine. It took me months to stop checking her social media. To stop wondering what I did wrong. To stop comparing myself to him. But every day, I got a little closer to the surface. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. I don't hate Emily anymore. I don't wish her pain or revenge. But I also don't want her anywhere near my life. I can forgive without opening the door again. That's power. You're not weak for loving deeply. You're not stupid for believing in someone. You're not broken because someone broke your trust. Loving hard isn't the mistake. Staying when it hurts is. If you're listening to this and you're going through something similar, if you're sitting there questioning your worth because someone betrayed you, hear this. You are not the problem. You are not unlovable. You are not alone. You can get through this. You will get through this. And when you do, you'll look back and realize the storm didn't destroy you. It just cleared the way. If this story moved you, helped you, or even just made you feel a little less alone, hit that subscribe button. More stories are coming, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's next.